So the greatness, there was a super signing today. I mean, it was an over-the-top signing. Listen here, man. You talk about collecting superstars. That's what Howie Roseman does when he signs a one-year contract extension to that to that guy, Reed Blankenship. And then he lets Haason Reddick roll out the building. So wait a minute. You get rid of your best pass rusher and your best defensive guy, and you sign Reed to a one-year deal. That being said, the legend is in the building. He's like Elvin.
Yeah. What's happening, Big Sills?
Hey, congratulations, man. You got Reed Blankenship on a one-year contract extension.
Hey, we need him. We need him. You know, he's an impact player. You know, if you don't miss tackles here or there, then who's gonna miss them? Listen, Howie Roseman just made one of the great trades of all time.
Oh, my God!
What other GM would think about 2026 draft picks? All right? No, I'm April Fools. April Fools. April Fools. I don't understand this trade. I don't get it. Everything was going great. Everything was on track. And it was like they trade Haason Reddick. And I'm still to this point. All I see is red. I can't see anything else but red. I'm so angry about this trade. I don't understand it, Sos. I don't understand it.
How about this, Philly? Think here. Let's try to get through the weeds on this for a second. So, like you said, here's something that someone brought up even earlier. Let's just say the Jets don't give him a contract extension and don't pay him, and they pay him the $15 million. He goes out, say he gets 13 sacks this year. Either the Jets decide to sign him, or he goes somewhere else. They pick up a third-round compensation in free agency and basically cover the second round if he turns out to be the impact player we all think he's going to be. They almost cover the deal by having him and not even extending him. He's not going to – what if they sign him to a contract, a 2-year contract at $19 million? You mean to tell me how he didn't – I'm hearing they didn't even offer him.
I can't understand this deal, okay? You're talking about double-digit sacks, right? And they get a third-round pick. You know what's going to happen. He's going to get double-digit sacks, and he's going to play like 65% of the snaps. So we don't get that extra pick because he's got to play 67.5% of the snaps in order to get, along with the double-digit sacks, in order to get a second-round pick in 2026. Not this year, not next year. We have to wait till 2026. This is just a deal I'm scratching my head about because I don't understand why you needed to make this. You're not in salary cap hell. You had him already on the books. He's under contract. And at the very least, I'm not arguing that they should sign him to an extension. I'm not. But he's in the last year of his contract. He should have played it out. And it should have helped you and provide insurance in case Bryce Huff isn't who they think he is or Nolan Smith doesn't develop. You have no insurance now, and you just let this guy go for nothing. I don't understand this.
Here's what I don't like about it. The guy did everything you asked him to do and produced. And I disagree with John McMullen, who was on with Xander on Friday and said that he's a diminished player. He played the first 4 games of the year with a cast. Right. Then the coaches didn't know how to use him at the end of the year.
Right.
That's not a diminished player. That's an organizational dysfunction on how you evaluated the player with an injury. And then you didn't know how to utilize the player when you made the move from Desai to Patricia. That's not diminished skill set. That's not understanding who you have. They went through this when they initially got him. Now, look, I'm under the guise of this. Okay, he is a liability in the run and also in the pass. He's an exceptional pass rusher. My problem with Huff is you basically brought Huff in to kind of cover who Haason Reddick is, but you didn't improve the position. You
Right.
needed a rundown guy to go on the other side of Josh Sweat. Where
Right.
on that defense, and we're hoping that Gardner Johnson comes back off his injury and he's that player, where do you see really the improvement?
Because of the getting rid of Haason Reddick, I think you've taken any improvement and you've pretty much thrown it out the window. Because I thought if you had kept Haason Reddick, I thought you made a nice improvement with the third down pass rusher. But now that you let Reddick go, I don't think you're necessarily better at the spot. I mean, listen, as we sit here today, right now, it's not a good trade for the Eagles. Now, if Bryce Huff goes out and has 15 sacks, I'll go, all right, well, it looked like it worked out. But right now, as we sit, unless something else happens, it just doesn't make sense to me, especially when you're talking about a team that looked like they were all in and trying to win this year. I don't see how this is going all in. I don't. And I don't see how a third round pick in 2026 is more valuable than having the guy play next year. I just don't.
You think they're putting too much emphasis on the upcoming draft to try to fix some of their problems than having gotten players in here that could help them immediately?
No, I don't think I think they're going to do what they're going to do in the draft, and it wasn't going to matter whether Reddick's on that team or not. I think they're going to take who they're going to take. They like who they like, and it's not going to change anything. I don't know. Like, to me, there has to be something more that we don't know, that we don't understand, because it just doesn't make sense. He was under contract. See, that's the thing that bothers me, is he's under contract. You have $33 million in cap space. You absolutely lose nothing. And here's a guy. Now John McMullen could say he had diminished skills at the end of the year. Then every single one of those players on both sides of the ball did, because they all stunk the last 6 games. It wasn't just Reddick. It was all of them. But, it's funny that Reddick has, 11.5 sacks, and they're saying, oh, what a stinky year. But then Bryce Huff has 10 sacks. What a great year. Still less sacks than Haason Reddick.
And a non-starter.
I don't know. Yeah. And they say the weaknesses of Huff is he doesn't play the run well, and he can't cover. So it sounds like you're just getting Haason Reddick, who's younger and maybe at the start of his breakout year. I'm not saying the kid's not going to be good, or I don't like him, or I don't like Nolan Smith. I'm saying you had those guys already, and you had Reddick. So why just not keep Reddick for 1 year and have a great rotation? I don't get it.
And Senior is right. That draft's 3 drafts away.
3, yeah.
I mean, that's like 10 years from now. It's 3 years away.
In Jerry Jones' years, it is, yeah.
Here, I'm gonna make this comment to you here about Vic Fangio. Do you agree? If Vic Fangio comes in and he can't fix that defense and turn that defense into a top 15 defense, it's time to fire Howie Roseman as a personnel guy when it comes to adding players, especially on the defensive side, because he does not build sustainable defenses and he doesn't build long-term defenses, man. You're constantly in this conveyor belt of conversation on who's going to play edge, who's going to play safety, who's going to play linebacker. You would think after a while, Philly.500, you've been covering this team for years. After a while, I mean, you and me are talking about the same shit every offseason, every year. He doesn't build it. And to me, it's not sustainable on building championship quality teams. They overload their money on offense, and then what they do is they try to piecemeal their defense together. I don't know, man. I don't think that's championship football, and I think it's one of the reasons why you've only won 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like we always have the same recurring problems on defense. No linebackers, no safeties. The corners are always older and they're not as good. The one thing that we did seem to always have a decent pass rush. We always seem to have a decent line. That's why it's so surprising to me that they would move on from Reddick in the way in which they do. This doesn't feel like a Howie Roseman trade to me. Like this doesn't
You think
seem
Fangio
like
had something to do with this, wanting him out?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, maybe Fangio just wanted him out. Maybe there's stuff behind the scenes that we don't know. I honestly don't know. It doesn't make sense. I almost feel like that something else has to happen, like another shoe has to drop so that we'll all go, okay, well, now we see what they're doing, because I really don't understand it. And if you go back and you look at Howie Roseman's strengths, he's always done a good job with trades. He's always done a good one. And this one, he just the way it looks today, I think he's totally missed the boat. I do. I don't think this was a good trade. So it's baffling to me.
Well, here are your 34 linebackers: Nolan Smith, Devin White, Nakobe Dean, and Bryce Huff. How do you feel going into the start of the football season in September with those four guys? Because those are your four dudes that you have earmarked right now as your starting four linebackers in a 34 defense, because he plays the 34.
I think you need. I think you're missing a pass rusher. Like, I think you've literally
You
created
signed one
another
for
hole.
18 million.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be your like third pass rusher. Reddick was still your closer. Reddick was still your number one. Now, by taking Reddick and basically moving on from him, to me, you now have the same issue you had going in free agency. I think you need another pass rusher. I think you need another outside linebacker. I
What about Nolan Smith?
yet to be determined. I'm not gonna. I gotta see more. I have to see more from him to sit there and say he's a bust or to say he's good. I think he's got some talent. I think he's got some speed. I hope he can get a little bigger, a little stronger. But I hope he can play. He's got to play. See, we might feel totally different about this if we got to see him play more last year. But as of right now, I mean, I'm hoping he's going to be that guy. But I don't know. Just yet to
How
be
about
determined.
this? Why is it so that the Eagles have no problem opening the checkbook for the offense and have an extreme problem opening it up for the defense? Do you think that's the owner and that's the owner's MO there? Because again, he
Well,
wants flashy. The Eagles, I got to tell you, Philly.500, this is the first time in the last 2 years that the Eagles have been a flashy team with those 1,000-yard receivers. Prior to that, it's tight end play great defense, run the ball, situational play calling, third down efficiency. That's how the Eagles traditionally won football games. You got into NFC title games with that philosophy. It just seems that they want to change away from that so bad and get into this big play. How many times did you hear Nick last year saying, we want the big play? Well, since when has the Philadelphia Eagles been a big play offense? The last 2 years. This has been,
right.
I think this is by design.
I think part of it is. I mean, but they've also always paid certain positions on defense. Like, they'll always pay a corner. They'll always pay a pass rusher, especially a defensive end. They always used to pay those guys. So to me, it's always been the linebacker that they get real cheap on, the safety they get real cheap on, and positions like that. But like, you always had a decent pass rush, a decent defensive line. They would always have no problem going out in free agency or making a trade to get a Darius Slay, a Asante Samuel. They would be willing to do those and take chances defensively over there. But for some reason, when it came to Haason Reddick, he just had to go. And that's what I don't understand.
What did he do that was so detrimental that you brought Brandon Graham back and you moved your best defensive player?
Your best
Seems like PR moves.
See, I don't know what's going on. And now you're getting people say, well, Reddick wanted out. Reddick was going to hold out. Reddick did this. Reddick was bad.
I haven't heard any of that.
See, I never heard any of that until the trade. Now everybody's saying it after the fact. But before that, Reddick was great. So I don't believe any of it, but I feel at the same time there's got to be something going on, because either Reddick went to them and said, "I'm not playing for you unless I get a new contract," which he didn't sign a contract with the Jets, by the way, or something, because I don't understand it. The guy literally was under contract one more year. Yes, he won an extension, but you know what? If he goes and plays for the Jets without a contract extension, he would have played for us. And you could have restructured his deal and gave him more money, not add any more years, and made him happy for 1 year and played him. I think we'd feel better about this if we're talking like, he got a third-round pick in this year's draft, or even in 2025. But when you go 2026, that just sounds like they were going to get rid of him at all costs. That's what it sounds like.
It would make me feel better if the player said, "I want out."
Right. Yeah, me too.
If he went like this, "I want out. They don't want to give me my money. They don't want to pay me for what I've brought to the team, and they don't want to pay me for my results." I would be like this. Well, he's got a leg to stand on.
Right.
And like you said, look at what the kid Snead did. The kid Snead gets traded to the Titans. 2 days later, they sign him to a multi-year contract and make him the highest paid corner in the league. You're not seeing that with Reddick here. And if this thing goes through the week,
Right.
Philly.500, and they don't sign him, there's no way in hell he wanted out. Because he's going to New York on a prove-it deal to play this year out to get into the market again.
Yeah.
I really look at Philly has looked at him since get this. How do you look at a guy who's been one of the most productive pass rushers that you've had since Trent Cole, and how you look at him and go, we can live without him. And yet you bring a guy in just like him, and you've got so many question marks on your defense that now you even make a bigger question mark. I'm just not understanding how this whole thing came about. I mean, something must have happened.
That's what I think. Yeah, because it just
don't you think something happened in the locker room, or something happened?
I think something had happened, because for Howie Roseman to trade a 2026 pick and not even help your team this year, to me that just sounds like we're going to move on from this guy no matter what. And we're going to try to get something for him because we do think he's valuable and we recognize that. But he's got to go. He cannot be here. And it's not a money thing, because they had $33 million under the cap and he was already included in that salary cap. So it wasn't that. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe Howie Roseman's get ready to pull something out of his ass. Maybe we're going to have Eagles trade for Jaguars Josh Allen or something like that. I don't know. But to me, as we stand right now, for everything you've done in 2024, Barkley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, whether you like it or not, this was a team that was looking like they're going all in. This move is a counter move to all of that. And I don't get it.
Kellen Moore being signed. Is there a gamble here that Kellen Moore could be trying to change him too much?
Change who?
Hurts.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not. I don't think so. I think Kellen Moore, I think he gets a lot of unfair blame and criticism because the Dallas Cowboys are chokers. And so, he's had to deal with that. He only had 1 year with the Chargers. Their head coach was I think he's a good coach, and I assume he's going to use Hurts to the best of his ability. I do.
What is that?
I think we'll be fine. I think what you saw 2 years ago, I think that would, but a better passer. I think you could get a lot of what you got from Hurts. Plus, I think he could become a better passer than he was. I think he can improve on it. So I think Hurts could be a 30 touchdown guy with 8 to 10 rushing touchdowns a year. I think that's very possible.
How many years will it be before Julian Lurie is going to be the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, he'll be the owner. He'll be the outright owner for the GM. Howie Roseman ain't going nowhere. Let me tell you, Howie Roseman has something on that. He ain't going nowhere.
If that team fails this year,
Yep.
He
I
still
think
comes
Howie's.
back, and they'll
Oh
do the
yeah.
blame game on the coaches.
Oh yeah. Oh
How many
yeah.
years
And
can you keep doing that?
they're going to keep doing it. Listen, every time you look at the Eagles and you say, "All right, Lurie is finally going to hold Howie accountable." He doesn't. He says, "Well, I don't really blame Howie for that. I don't really blame Howie." I don't believe he will hold him accountable. I think Howie Roseman. I think he might as well be a part-time owner because I don't think he's going anywhere. No matter what happens this year, I think he's back.
So you're saying Howie Roseman has a job on the yacht as the coxswain. It's not coxman, I found out. It's coxswain. He's the guy that goes like this, row, row, row.
You
My
know.
aunt looked it up. It's not coxman. So I had
Oh,
to
he's not going to.
apologize.
Listen, every time Lurie even suggests it, he just holds up those photographs from when they were in Mexico. Hey, Jeffrey, remember this? Remember this?
Oh, hey, I got these Cabo posts. I got these Cabo pictures in my phone.
Yeah.
Hey, you and that
Listen.
kid, man. You know what I mean? I know he was delivering drinks, but hey.
listen. You had an owner, all right? And I like Jeffrey Lurie. I'm not trying to speak negative on him, but you had an owner who fired a Super Bowl winning coach who then went to what? 2-3 straight playoff in a row, 2-3 years in a row after the Super Bowl, has one bad season, and they fire the coach before the GM. I mean, to me, how do you fire a Super Bowl winning coach like that just of one bad year? That's unheard of. And he did it because Howie Roseman.
I have to give you two Cowboy things on the way out the door. So I was
All
talking
right.
with Steven. Now, guess what's being kicked around? Okay. Dak Prescott traded to the New England Patriots for the third pick. Dallas takes Drake May. They get multiple picks from New England.
Is that April Fool's joke or is that real?
No, it's more of the Cowboys have not given him a contract offer. They have not given him an extension. Here's what would happen, Philly. If they allow him to go into September and they shut down that contract talk, the Cowboys will get no compensation for Dak Prescott if he walks out the door. They'll get nothing for him. So if they trade him now, they haven't offered him a deal. They haven't given him an extension. There's no talks on the table of giving him $60 million. They would trade him to New England. Now, again, the Cowboys aren't actively doing this, but teams see that's a smoke signal. When you don't give a quarterback an extension and you put him in a lame duck year, teams know to call and go, okay, what's the availability? Right. Is there availability? So this, I think there's multiple teams, but I heard the first one out of the gate was New England and Prescott to New England for the third pick in the draft and multiple picks, like 3, 5, 6, maybe a 2.
Wow.
For him.
I definitely don't want that to happen. I don't. I want Dak to sign a lifetime contract with the Dallas Cowboys because
and why is guaranteed
that? Because you're guaranteed they're not going to do anything in the playoffs for all those years. He's a choker, right? I mean, no doubt about it. Hey, listen, man, I don't like the Reddick trade, but I still, everything leading up to that, I like it. And I want to say the other thing is just because I don't like the Reddick trade doesn't mean I think Huff is a bust or Nolan Smith is a bust. It has nothing to do with them. This is just about giving away your best defensive playmaker for nothing because I don't consider 2026 a draft pick I can even think about in terms of helping my team now. So it's a weird thing. I don't know if there's another shoe that has to drop. I don't know if there's something that we're going to find out later. But to me, it just doesn't make sense.
What do you make of this Isaiah Rodgers kid?
Everything I hear about him, he's pretty talented. He's pretty good. Now, I think they said he played mostly on the outside
and
before,
special teams,
but they're moving him inside, and that's the plan with him. That's why they got rid of Avonte Maddox. So we'll see. But I think from everything I've heard of him, he's supposed to be a pretty decent, pretty decent signing, and he should play and should contribute. So I would still draft a cornerback though. Nothing has changed for me. I would still draft a cornerback in round 1, but we'll see. I don't think they will.
Last question. Of all the moves they've made, what player will have the biggest impact on the team?
Oh, see, that's an interesting question because I'll say Saquon Barkley is going to have the biggest impact, but I think Devin White's going to be the most surprising. I know you hate that, but I got to tell you it's true.
Yeah,
I
because he
know.
hasn't been a player in 5 years.
I know, and the fresh start will be huge for him. It's like Jeremiah Trotter leaving Washington and coming back to Philly. He's shot, he's wasted, gets back to Philly, goes back to All-Pro. I think Devin White is going to shock everybody this year. He's going to be awesome, Sills. Going to be awesome.
You want to hear something that is so crazy with him? So last year, when he put a contract demand of $96 million on the table to the Bucs, and the Bucs started balking, he signs with the Eagles for $3 million. He took a $93 million pay cut when it comes to his market value. $93 million. He put $100 million basically contract offer extension on the table to them, and the Bucs had given him an extension the year previous, and they said no thank you. And you're confident this guy turns into year 2.
Now he's coming to take it out on everybody's ass. That's what I say. I love that. So I think it's a very low risk, high reward signing. You're paying him hardly nothing.
I don't want low risk. I want football players.
But he is a football player. You have even said it. He's talented. He's a football player. He was in the Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl, played great. He's a football player. We know it's
when he wants to be.
Well, now he wants to be. That's why he's playing on a 1-year deal. That's what my hope is. Because if he's ready to play, Sills, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. If he comes in clear head, ready to go, he ate his Wheaties in the morning, he's going to be good. And I have we're talking about free agency. What the Eagles need to do is they need to go in and make sure that they draft linebackers, right? Edrin Cooper, guys like that. They need to draft young linebackers so that whether White is good or not, you have guys that are homegrown through your system.
You think they still stick there at linebacker, or wait, offensive tackle or edge rusher at 22, or do they move down?
I think they're trading up. No matter what, they're trading up.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Let me say this to you. If they trade up and Brock Bowers is there,
they're trading up. Well, yeah. Well, I love the idea of another tight end. I love that idea. I think they're trading up, and I think they're going to.
What are they trading up for?
It'll be either 3 positions. Most likely, well, I'll tell you what. Most likely, it's going to be offensive lineman. I think they're going offensive line in the first round. And I also think if not offensive lineman, it's going to be an edge rusher. And then if not that, it's going to be a corner. I think it'll be one of those 3. But I think I think from everything we're hearing, they're like enamored with these offensive tackles coming out. And I can see I hear that they like a lot of those guys. The thing about the edge rusher is if you go out and you get an edge rusher, is every team know that you're going to be taking an edge rusher now in the first round. So they're going to do whatever they can to get ahead of you. I don't want to take the 6th best edge rusher when the top corner's on the board. You know what I'm saying?
Or the 2nd best OTs there.
Right. I want the best player, but I think it's going to probably come down to the offense or defensive line.
You see what Harbaugh's doing? Harbaugh's doing something that I've never seen a coach do in my entire life, and I think he has the chance to do this because he just comes from the college ranks. How about this, Philly.500? J.J. McCarthy, who I think stinks.
Oh, yeah. Right.
He's doing this.
Greatest.
This guy's the greatest thing I've never seen. Holy shit. I
I
mean,
know.
unbelievable. This guy had 22 touchdown passes in 15 games. I mean,
Right.
that kid, Jaden Daniels, had 22 passes in 2 games. And you're
Yep.
sitting there going, this guy's, and he's like driving this guy up the market, and he's driving the tackles and receivers down for
Yeah.
him. He's going to get the
Right.
choice between Neighbors or Harrison. And in my
Oh.
opinion, I don't think Marvin Harrison separates himself from the kid from Washington, the 2 kids from LSU.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think he's that far ahead. So I think Jim may even trade down and get a couple more guys.
Could. I mean, listen, I don't want the Giants to get Neighbors. I don't want that to happen. Because they might go. I don't know what they're going to do. They might go quarterback. Who knows? But for the Eagles, I don't mind. Listen, I don't mind thinking outside the box and going if you want to trade up and draft like Bowers or something like that. I would be okay with that. I think that would be a great thing.
Can you imagine Bowers in that offense in the middle of the field where there's no linebackers in today's NFL that could, the reason the tight end position is such a demanding position is because it's the biggest mismatch position. I told you this before. All the better players are at the corner position, right? The better players aren't. Look at the Eagles. You have a top flight tight end, you're going to eat that defense up because you have Kittle, the guy in Baltimore. Shit, even the guy Jake Ferguson in Dallas is a good ball player.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I don't think that's a bad idea, but the key for me is you've got to come out of this draft with players that come in and play. You can't be sitting on the bench for 2 years, So to me, I hope that they go. I really hope that they go best player available, whatever position it is in round 1, and then I want to see linebackers. I want to see another corner. I want to see guys that can come in and play and contribute. Take advantage of your offense being really good that you can play these young guys. And I don't even mind them doing that with Huff and Smith. It's just they didn't need to take the extra step and get rid of Haason Reddick. They could have just let him stay 1 more year, and you would have been fine.
Man, but you signed Reed Blankenship today. That's what I'm talking. Those are the kind of moves that get you over the hump against Kansas City.
Well, listen, a lot of people like Reed Blankenship. I think he's an okay depth piece.
I think he's okay too.
But if he's really super good and they think the world of him, they're not going to just give him a 1-year extension. The 1-year extension tells you exactly what they think of him.
Yeah, they want to replace him.
Yeah, eventually they want to replace him. They just want to give themselves an extra year to do it. So, to me, I like Blankenship as a depth piece, but 1-year deal, that tells me that they like him for the short term.
The 2 Kings of Pasta Fazool.
Yes, sir.
Coming out of a big Easter weekend, man. I know there's a lot of grub at the table there because there was with me as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had to swallow all of it after we watched the Haason Reddick deal. I'm sure we both had agita after that. That gave me heartburn.
Hey, you remember last time I was on cloud 9. You were trying to keep down. What is going on? We did this. This is great. This is great. I was feeling good. And then that Haason Reddick, that brought me down back to the even.
Chinatown.
Yeah.
My good friend. Great stuff.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
Don't forget, folks, make sure you just type in Philly.500. Spectacular show. He does a great job. I'm a huge fan. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my man. Take care.
You got it. Philly.500. Yes, sir. The greatness of Reed Blankenship, baby. That's the home run hit in the offseason so far. Greatness right there. Hey, don't forget, NCAA March Madness is going on. Our great friends, JAKIB Sports and Underdog Fantasy, please do me a favor. Sign up. That's right. All you have to do is $10 minimum. They'll take you all the way up to $100. Simple as that. The promo code is WIN, W-I-N. That's W-I-N. Don't forget, Gary Cobb, 4:30 Eastern, breaking down the greatness of the Reed Blankenship signing. That's next. Big Sills, keep it here, National Football Show.